beyondthecal. Today we are making this gorgeous cable stitch. This is the 4-strand rope cable with popcorns. So this is our 4-strand cable, and we've got our popcorns here. They're not strictly popcorns, but they look like popcorns. They are made slightly differently than a traditional popcorn, and it is just a beauty. You will need a fair bit of yarn for this. It does eat the yarn a little bit, but it is so worth it. It is just gorgeous. And we have all this texture here from the sort of front and back post stitches that we make. And if I turn it over, let me just release some yarn here, turn it over, you can see the back is fairly sort of smooth in these end sections, and then in the middle, this is where it gets interesting. This is the back of our cable, and I've got 2 repeats here, and you can see it's sort of overlapping, and it is just amazing how it works up. Okay, now I will tell you, when we first start to make this, your work will be twisted, it will have sort of bends and curves in it, it will look like it's going in all sorts of directions, and you will wonder how it will ever become straight like this. All I will say is trust the pattern, trust what you're doing, and because you're watching the video, trust me with what I'm doing too, and it will end up like this. I assure you it will, even if to start with it looks like it's going everywhere but straight. Okay, so this is what we're making, and honestly I just love it. It took a little while for me to work out, but I think I pretty much have it worked out now, so ready to show you. So this one, you can see I've not finished this off here because I'm going to make this one up into a larger piece because I just love it. I love the effect, and it's just, yeah, cool. Love it. So grab your yarn and hook and maybe a tea or coffee, and let's get started. Okay, now I usually tell you the repeat count, the stitch count as well, if you want to make this wider. So this is a 56 stitch count, 56 stitches on each row. But we actually only chain 52 because we work some stitches into the same chain. So if you want to make this wider for, say, a blanket, I would suggest that you make your chain count 52 multiples of 52. Okay, so you just so this was our chain of 52, so I would suggest that you just repeat this for however many times you want it wide. So you do 52, 104, 156, and multiples of the 52. Okay, and then just when you're doing the pattern, just repeat this again and again and again. Okay, so that's if you want to make it bigger. And of course, as with all of these cables, you can work them up as tall or as short a piece as you wish. Okay. Okay, you want to chain 52. Chain 52. Okay. Normally, I would say you can make the foundation, chainless foundation, single crochet or whatever stitch we're using. Today, that won't work because we're going to make more than one stitch into some of these chains. So you do need to start with a chain today. So chain 52, pause the video, do those chains, and then we'll continue. Okay, let's continue. Now we're going to do double crochets for this first row. We're going to skip 2 chains, and then in the 3rd chain, you know I like to work in the back loop, we're going to we're going to make a double crochet. That first 2 chains counts as a double crochet. Okay, so double crochet in that 3rd chain, and then 20 more double crochets. Okay, so do 20 more double crochets and then meet me back. Pause the video and I'll see you when I've done these next 20. Okay, so if you count back, you should have 21 double crochets, because we did 1 and then 20, and then you'll have your chain 2 at the end. Okay, so 21 double crochets plus your chain 2 at the start. Okay, and then what we're going to do now, and this is why you couldn't use the chainless foundation stitch, we're going to do 6 double crochets in the next chain. 6 double crochets. Don't forget to pause the video if at any time you need to just catch up, okay? So that's that 6 double crochet, and then we're going to do a double crochet in the next 27 chains, and that will be take us to the end chain. So 27 more double crochets, and that's the end of this row, and you should have 56 stitches altogether, including the chain 2 at the start. Okay, you might have found that you had 1 chain left over, and that's because actually you needed to make 28 double crochet. 28 double crochet. So if you have a chain left over, make another double crochet in there. So it should be 28 double crochet along there. Okay, so I apologise for that. But this is what we have. Now this is what I said about trusting the pattern. If it looks like it's bending, twisting, this is almost a 90-degree angle, and you think, how is that going to be a straight piece of work? Well, it will, believe me, even though it looks a bit like a boomerang. Okay, maybe we should have had Sammy making this stitch. She's in Australia, boomerang country. Okay, so let's go on to row 2. So what we're going to do now is row 2, and we're going to start with a chain 2, and from now all the chain 2s count as a half double crochet. Okay, they all count as a half double crochet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a front post double crochet, front post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. So not the first stitch, because that's where we've got the chain coming from, but the next 8 stitches of front post double crochet. Nice and simple. Okay, there's 8 front post double crochet. Just pause if you need to catch up. And then we're going to do a back post double crochet around the next stitch. So that's going your hook from behind to front and then back around, pushing that post to the back. Okay, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet around the next stitch. And then we're going to do 5 double crochets in the next stitch. Remember, we always have a stitch at the back unworked where we've had our post stitch done. Okay, so there will always be an empty stitch at the back there. So you want to do 5 double crochets in the next stitch. Okay, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet around the next stitch, back post double crochet around the next, and then a front post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. 8 front post double crochets. Last one. Okay, and now we're going to do a back post double crochet around the next 12 stitches. Okay, so some of those will be these 6 that are all in the same stitch. Okay, so back post around the next 12 stitches. I'm not going to do all that on camera. I'm going to pause the video. So pause the video now and do 12 back post double crochets. Okay, when you've done those 12 back post double crochets, we are going to do a front post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. Okay, so we're kind of we're starting to repeat what we've done at the start. So we're going to do a front post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. Okay, and then a back post double crochet around the next, and then a front post double crochet, and then we're going to do 5 double crochets in the next stitch, 5 double crochets in this next stitch. Okay, and then a front post double crochet around the next, back post double crochet around the next, and then a front post double crochet around each of the 8 stitches that are left. Okay, there's your 8 front post double crochets, and then you have your chain 2, and you're going to do a half double crochet in the top of that chain 2 at the end. Okay, so this is what you have now. So you can see where we had the bend in the middle, it's becoming slightly straighter, but we have a bit of a wavy top. Okay, so this is the back of the work, and this is what it should look like now. So we're going to move on to row 3. Okay, row 3, we are going to chain 2 and turn our work around. We're going to start making the cable on this row. We are going to do a back post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. So always skip the first stitch, and then you're going to do a back post around the next 8 stitches, and that basically is where we did our front post double crochet on the previous round. Okay, so we're going to do a back post double crochet on the next 8 stitches. Okay, one more. So that's the 8 back post double crochets, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet around the next stitch, and then a back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet around each of the next around all of the next 5 stitches together, and this makes a bit of a popcorn stitch. It's not technically a popcorn stitch because we haven't gone through them all together when we first did them, but what we're going to do, if you look at the next 5 stitches that are all in the same stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches there. So yarn over, go under all 5 stitches, and then yarn over, pull through, and then complete your double crochet. Okay, and that gives you this kind of popcorn stitch. Okay, then we're going to do a back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then a front post double crochet around the next, and then a back post double crochet around each of the next 8 stitches. Okay, so 8 back post double crochets. Pause the video and do those 8 stitches. Okay, when you've done those 8 back post double crochets, we are going to start the actual cable part. Okay, so just take your time with this, pause the video where you need to, and I will try and go nice and slowly and try and make it clear for you what we need to do. Okay, let me just zoom the camera in. Okay, what we're going to do is a front post double crochet around each of the next 6 stitches. Okay, so 6 front post double crochets. Okay, and then we're going, so we've got 6 front post double crochets, and then chain 2. Okay, and now we're going to do a front post double crochet around the last stitch that we just made. So we're going to come back around this stitch here. This chain 2 doesn't really serve, it doesn't show as a stitch when we've finished. Okay, so yarn over and then go back down and around this last stitch we made. Okay, so you've got your chain 2, yarn over and go back around the stitch that you just made, and then do your double crochet like so. Okay, so it looks like you've got 2 stitches here, but actually one is the chain and one is the stitch, and that chain will end up at the back. Okay, now what you're going to do after that is turn your work around, and we're going to work back along these stitches that we've just made. Okay, so we are going to do 5 back post double crochets, so back along these 5. Okay, so we did a front post around the first one, and now we're going to do a back post around the next, so they will all look the same. So a back post around the next 5. Oops. Okay, so you've got those 5 back posts there, and they, if I just turn my work over, so they join with that front post and they all now look the same. It looks like you've got 5 front posts. Okay, so then what we're going to do is chain 2, and we're going to turn our work around again, and we are going to do a front post double crochet back along these next these 6 that we've just done. Okay, so a front post double crochet around all these 6 that we've just done. So go around the first one, do a front post double crochet. Oops, my yarn's just split there. Okay. Kind of doing rows within the row for this, and it makes the cable work up beautifully. Once you've got the hang of what you're doing for this part, it becomes sort of quite self-explanatory on the next time you do it. Okay, so there we go. So we've kind of got these 3 rows going on that we've just made now. So now we are going to chain 2 again. And this time we're going to do something a little different, because we want to get our yarn from here back down to here to continue working along this row that we were on. Okay, we've come from down here, so on down here at the right, and we've gone along and back and along up to here, and we want to come back down. So we've chained 2, and what we're going to do now is, if you slightly turn your work and see this first chain 2 that you did, that I said doesn't count as a stitch. So turn your work and you've got this first chain 2 that we did. Okay, slip stitch in to there. Okay, so chain 2 is up here, and we want to slip stitch into this chain 2 here, just like so. Okay, and that's brought that down part way. Now we want to come down to here. So what we're going to do is, this is the top of our first double crochet, so we're going to go under there, okay, and we're going to do a slip stitch in there as well. Make sure you're not going through the front. There we go. So now our yarn is at the side of this first or last front post double crochet. We've got our yarn here ready to continue along. Okay, if you need to watch that again, just rewind a few seconds to watch that. Okay, so now we're going to do that again to make our second cable part. So this is our first cable part. We're going to do that again. Okay, what we're going to do is a front post double crochet around the next 6 stitches. 6 front post double crochets. Okay, so we're going to do exactly what we did on this piece here. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet back around this stitch we've just made. So yarn over, go around that stitch and do your double crochet. Okay, and then turn your work and then do a back post double crochet around the next 5. Back post double crochet around the next 5. Okay, and then we're going to chain 2, turn our work around again, and we're going to do a front post double crochet around each of these 6 stitches, just as we did before. Front post double crochet around all 6. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to chain 2, and then as before, this is probably the trickiest part. See your chain 2 on the back. There we go, chain 2 on the back, do a slip stitch into there, and then a slip stitch into the back of this front post double crochet here. So just behind here, there we go, slip stitch into there, and there we go, we're ready to continue. So you've now got your 2 cable parts, first cable part and second cable part. Okay, and actually not as tricky as it seems. So let's continue this row. Back post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. 8 back post double crochet. and then a front post double crochet around the next, and then a back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then a front post double crochet around all these next 5 stitches together to make another popcorn style stitch. So yarn over, go under all 5 stitches, yarn over, pull through, and complete your double crochet. And there we go, your second popcorn style stitch. And then we're going to do a back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then a front post double crochet around the next, and then you're going to finish off with 8 back post double crochets and a half double crochet in your chain 2, top of your chain 2. So 8 back post double crochets, then a half double crochet in the top of your chain 2. And I'll see you when we've done. So pause the video and do those. So this is what we have at the end of row 3. Okay, we have our 2 popcorn stitches, and they've got these 2 vertical bars either side. Bring this up. Okay, so you've got your popcorn and your 2 vertical bars, and then we've got our 2 cable parts, and then another popcorn and vertical bars at this side. So it's looking straight-ish. Straight-ish. So we are going to move on to row 4 now. Okay, row 4, we are going to start, as always, chain 2, turn your work around. Now the pattern always says turn, and then it says chain 2. I always do it the other way. I like to chain and then turn, and so yeah, I just kind of slightly go off pattern there, but it doesn't make any difference whether you turn and then chain or chain and then turn. It really doesn't matter. So just putting that out there, that I do sort of do it slightly in reverse to the pattern. Okay, so we are going to front post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. Okay, you don't need me to show you that again. So front post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. Pause the video. Okay, 8 front posts there, and then we're going to do a back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then a front post double crochet around the next. And then we're going to do 5 double crochets in the next stitch, 5 double crochets. Okay, and then a front post double crochet around the next, and then a back post double crochet, and then front post around the next 8, front post around the next 8. Pause the video. Okay, this is where we're up to. So we have come up to our 2 cable parts. Okay, so this is the next step of our cable stitch. Now we need to cross these cables over. They're going to be sort of like this. Okay, so this second piece will be over the front of the first piece. Okay, this is the back of our work, and this will be over like so. Okay, so we need to work into this second piece first. Okay, so what we're going to do, let me just get this around, we are going to fold this first section towards us, fold that down, okay, and we're going to work around this second piece. Okay, so we're going to do 6 back post double crochets around these 6 post stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Note that first one, sorry, that first bit that looks like a stitch is actually your chain 2, so make sure you don't work around this chain 2. Okay, so this is the first stitch. Okay, the next one along, this is just your chain 2. Okay, just testing there, checking that you know which is your chain 2 and which is your stitch. Okay, so fold this first part down, and then I'm going to yarn over for my double crochet, because we're going to do back post double crochets, and then pull this as close as possible. Okay, so I like to fold it over and just sort of put it in any kind of contortion, and then do your first back post around that first stitch. The reason I like to pull it in close is so that you don't get a really stretched stitch. And you can see that this is a little big, okay, but if I sort of did it far away it would be even bigger. Okay, so try not to stretch your stitch too much, and then you can just kind of hold it where it is and then just do the other 5 back post stitches. And this other piece just kind of sits there kind of thinking, when's my turn? So let's do these 6 back post stitches, remembering not to go around your chain 2s. So here at the end we've got a stitch and a chain 2, just go around that stitch, that's all. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 back post stitches. This first one may look a little big, but don't worry about that, it's absolutely fine. So chain 3, and then take your hook out of the loop and pop your hook into this first stitch, this one that I said may be a little big. Pop your hook into there from the back to the front, so towards you, okay, towards you. And then pick up this loop that you dropped, okay, pick up this loop you dropped, and then pull through. So this folds over slightly. I turn it around, you can see it's just folded over slightly. Okay, that's what we're doing. And then we are going to do a back post double crochet around these 6 stitches that we skipped. So this first cable part we're going to do back along all these that we skipped. So we're going to start from the right side, start from here and work along. Remember to skip your chain 2, don't work into that. So we're just going to come, okay, let me just explain this again. So we've got our chain 3 here that we pulled through our first stitch and made this fold over slightly, and then we're going to come to this first cable part and we're going to do a back post double crochet around the first stitch, okay, like so. Holding that in place for a moment in case I need to take any screenshots of these tricky stitches. Okay, so we're going to work around all 6 of those and do back post double crochets. And this is probably one of the most tricky parts of the pattern, and once you've done this part the rest is just a doddle, easy peasy, she says. And as I always say, we just take it 1 stitch at a time and we just get there in the end. So we've now done those 6 across there, so you can see now how this part is crossing over the back of the other part, like so. Turn it around and you can see here where we've got this part at the back which goes from here underneath and up to the top. And then this folded piece around, okay, and I'm going to show you my original piece just to show you how that's going to work. So this is what we've done, where are we? So we've just done this piece here, okay, and we've just folded this part and we've got some going up and under, so that's what we've just done. Okay, so it's going to work up and look like it's been braided, beautifully braided. Okay, so just so you can see where we're heading. So let's move on to the next part of the row, which is not going to be as tricky. Not going to be as tricky at all. Okay, so we are going to do a front post double crochet around each of the next post around each of the next front post double crochets. Put my teeth in would help, wouldn't it? So we are actually coming all the way over to here. This work brings all the way over to here, like so. Extend all the way, and then we've got these post stitches here. Okay, these ones here. So do a front post double crochet around each of those 8 stitches. Okay, when you've done those 8 front posts, we are going to do a back post double crochet and then a front post double crochet, and then 5 double crochet in the next stitch, and that will be in the top of where we went to do our popcorn stitch. Okay, so between these 2 bars, the stitch in between. So make 5 double crochet in there. Okay, and then a front post double crochet around the next, continuing that bar up, and then a back post double crochet. Oops, there was a half double crochet there. Try that again. So your back post double crochet, and then you're going to finish off as before, and you're going to do a front post double crochet around the next 8 stitches, and then finish with a half double crochet in the top of your chain 2. Okay, 8 front post double crochets and a half double crochet. There we go, at the end of row 4. This is the back of the work, and you can see where these have kind of overlapped and where we've done our chain 2s and whatnot. So turn it over to the front and you can see how this cable is starting to work up, and the row is almost straight. This bottom part will become straighter as this part here gets pulled up with the next cable part. Okay, so this will become straighter. So I think it's looking pretty gorgeous, there we go. Okay, so row 5. As usual, chain 2 and turn your work around, and then we're going to do a back post double crochet around each of the next 8 stitches. Back post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. Pause the video. Okay, when you've done those 8 back post double crochets, we're going to do a front post double crochet, front post, and then a back post double crochet, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet around the next 5 stitches, all together, making that popcorn type stitch. So under the next 5 stitches, make sure you get all 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you get all 5 under there and do your double crochet. Okay, and then a back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then a front post double crochet, and then a back post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. Back post double crochet, 8 stitches. Okay, now we've reached our cable part. And what we need to do is a front post double crochet over or around each of these 12 double crochets that we did. Okay, so we had our 12 double crochets that we made here, and we need to make a front post double crochet around each of those. So you might think, well, where do I go first? Okay, we're going to go into this part that we did last. So this part that's looking quite straight, we're going to do 6 front posts on that section. So just go around these first 6 on this flat section. Okay. And then the last stitch is probably slightly obscured, so just move your work as you need to and find that last stitch there. Okay, so you've done those first 6 front post double crochets, and then we need to do 6 of these. Now remember, this is folded over slightly, so we just have to maneuver it to get to it. Okay, so we've got our first stitch here. This is our chain 3 where we pulled it through. So get your first stitch and do a front post double crochet. just uncurl it if it was a bit curled. Okay, so you've done your first one, and then you've got your second one right next to it. So once you've done your first one, it becomes a bit more easy. And then your third one, and then the fourth. Just work your way along. The fifth one, and then the last one, which might be slightly around the corner. And there you go, you've done your 12 front post double crochets of what looked like it was going to be tricky. Now these are sort of fanned out a bit, but again, don't worry about that, it will all come good in the end. This is what I said about it twisting and turning and looking a bit distorted, but it will all come good. It will, it will. So then we are going to repeat that, and we're going to repeat all that we've just done. So a back post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. Pause the video. Okay, after those 8, we're going to do a front post double crochet, and then a back post double crochet, and then a front post double crochet around the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you've got all 5. Then we make that popcorn type stitch, and then we're going to do a back post double crochet, and then a front post, and then a back post double crochet around the next 8 stitches, and a half double crochet in your chain 2 to finish. Pause the video and finish that row. Okay, here we go. That's what that row looks like at the end, and this is the front of our work. And if you've been making this up with me, you will have seen on your own how gorgeous it is looking. Gorgeous. Love it, love it. Okay, so we're going to move on to row 6, and that's a repeat of what we did at row 2, but I'm going to go through these repeat bits with you so that you don't have to keep going back and forth and back and forth. You only have to do that once. So, being kind to you today. So, let's go and make row 6. Okay, so row 6, which is the same as row 2, but we're going to go through it together. So chain 2 and turn your work around, front post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. Now I am sort of skipping these parts, and I would love to do this video in real time with you, but because there are a lot of repeats and stitches, it would make it 2 videos, and then you'd have to sort of come back to the other one to do the repeats. So yeah, there's not time enough on the video to do that. So unfortunately, I will have to keep asking you to pause the video and make the 8 stitches. So, pause the video and make your first front post double crochet 8 stitches. And after those 8 front posts, we're going to do a back post double crochet, and then a front post double crochet. And then we're going to make 5 double crochets in the next stitch. 5 double crochets. And a front post double crochet. And then a back post double crochet. And then a front post around each of the next 8 stitches. When you've done those 8 front post double crochets, we are going to do a back post double crochet around the next 12 stitches. So these stitches that we did, okay, they are still slightly overlapping, but don't panic about any of that, okay, just take them one stitch at a time. So these 12 stitches here, where they're slightly overlapping, but just do a back post double crochet around each of those. Okay, don't worry if it fans out a bit, just work a back post around each of those 12 stitches. So pause the video and do those 12 stitches. There we go, when you've done those 12 back post double crochets, I told you it would fan out slightly. When you've done those 12, then it's time to pause the video again and do 8 front post double crochets. 8 front post double crochets. After those 8 front posts, we're going to do a back post double crochet, and then a front post double crochet, and then 5 double crochets in the next stitch. 5 double crochets in the next stitch. Okay, and then a front post double crochet and a back post double crochet, and then hey, guess what, 8 front post double crochets and a half double crochet in the chain 2, and I'll see you at the end of the row. And there we go, that was the that was row 6. If it's a bit wonky, just give it a bit of a stretch out and it will be made straighter. So there's the back of our work, and turn it over, and there's the front. So you can see this cable is working up nicely. There we go, gorgeous, so much texture. Okay, and you can see how it kind of becomes intuitive as to where you're doing your back post and your front post. So you kind of know that this is all working up on this same side, these post stitches. So you kind of know that you want to do those front posts, and then next time you'll know you want to do them on the back. And it kind of becomes a bit intuitive as to where you're doing them, which is what I love about it. It seems such a complicated pattern, but most of it, apart from this middle section, is quite intuitive, which is great. You kind of get a feel for what you need to do. Okay, so we're going to move on to row 7. I'm just going to have a slurp of drink and then we'll move on to row 7. Okay, so row 7 is actually a repeat of row 5, and it's very similar to what we've just done. So again, another nice easy row. There will be a bit of pausing again to do your 8 stitches. So start with a chain 2 and turn your work around, and then do your 8 back post double crochets. 8 back post double crochets. See you in a sec. Okay, after the 8 back post double crochets, we're going to do a front post. Your side pieces will want to curl in, but just don't worry about that. That is what it wants to do. So we've done a front post, and then we're going to do a back post double crochet, and then we're going to make the next 5 stitches into our popcorn type stitch. So we're going to do a front post around the next 5 stitches. Make sure you're catching all 5. And then we are going to do a back post double crochet, and then a front post double crochet, and then a back post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. Back post double crochet the next 8 stitches. Okay, after those 8 back posts, we're going to do 12 front posts. So these 12 that you've been doing the last 2 rows, you're going to do a front post around each of those 12 stitches. Okay, and then once you've done those 12 front posts, you will move on and do 8 back posts. Okay, so 12 front posts and then 8 back posts. Pause the video and I'll see you soon. Okay, when you've done those 12 front posts and 8 back posts, we are going to do, where am I? There we go, just trying to find my place in the pattern. Okay, we're going to do a front post double crochet, and then a back post, and then we're going to make our popcorn type stitch. So front post around the next 5 stitches. Okay, and then a back post double crochet, and then a front post double crochet, and then guess what, you're going to do a back post double crochet around the last 8 stitches, and then a half double crochet in the chain 2, and I'll see you again in a moment. There we go, that's the end of row 7. So you can see that there really aren't many tricky rows on this. Most of it is actually quite simple, and it is just this middle section. Oh, excuse me, bit of a hiccup there. The middle section is the trickiest, as you would expect, but not as tricky as you might have expected, which is pretty good. So row 8, which is the last row of doing a repeat, is again, it's row 2. So I am going to go through that with you again, just because I don't want you to have to keep flicking back and forth through the video more than necessary. So I'm just going to run through this next row with you, probably quite speedily. Just pause it when you need to, and that's that. So to start row 8, what you need to do is do your chain 2 and turn your work, and then you want to do your first 8 front post double crochets, okay, and then I'll join you once that's done. So pause the video and do your chain 2 and then your first 8 front post double crochets. Okay, after those first 8 front posts, we're going to do a back post double crochet, and then a front post, and then 5 double crochets in the next stitch. 5 double crochets. Ooh, it doesn't help when I keep trapping my yarn. There we go. Okay, and then a front post double crochet, back post double crochet. Oops, why is that getting caught? There we go. And then a front post double crochet around the next 8 stitches. Okay, front post the next 8, and then back post the next 12. Okay, actually you're going to do, let me just look at this repeat. So front post the next 8, and then back post 12, and then front post the next 8. Okay, so you can see where that changes to the back. So front post 8, back post 12, front post 8, and then meet me back. Okay, when you've done those 8, 12 and 8, we are going to do a back post double crochet, and then a front post double crochet, 5 double crochets in the next stitch, and then a front post double crochet, a back post double crochet, and then finish with 8 front post double crochets and your half double crochet in your chain 2. Okay, so here we are at the end of row 8. Okay, this is the end of row 8, and this is the back that we've just done. Turn it over, and here we go from the front. And I know I've said this on nearly every row, but how gorgeous is this? Love it, love it. So if you want to continue making this taller, and you want to make this cable, you want to make it so it does sort of twist and look like it's been braided. If I bring my original one in here, so if you want to make it look like it has been braided and woven over and under, as you can see, this one is just one repeat. So that's just, let me bring this up here. So where are we? We're just about here. Okay, so we're up to about this row here, and you can see that once you do the repeat a second time, you really start to see that twist. Just this one little piece doesn't really show it as that sort of twisting rope. Once you've got at least 2 repeats, you can really see it start to work up nicely. So I would suggest that you do this at least once more. So you will need to rewind to where the repeat started. So there will be a time marker on the screen any second now. And then I'll continue talking to you. If you're wanting to finish and listen to some more, I'll continue talking to you after the time marker. The time marker to rewind is just coming up now. Okay, so as I was saying, I didn't want to do all that talking if you wanted to rewind, so I do suggest that you do this at least twice, okay, because if not, you don't really see much of the pattern there. You do need to do it again for it to form its next twist, which I think is really clever. How it looks like it's sort of moving back around, it sort of comes this way, and then just by nature of how the stitches go, it looks like it's sort of weaving up and around, and I love it. So yeah, I do suggest you do it at least once more, repeat all those rows. But if you're wanting to make this into a square, measure your width along, and then you want to do and work up to about 1/4 of an inch shorter. So let's see, what have I got here? I've got about 11 3/4, so I would work up to 11.5 inches, and then I would do my final row. And it doesn't matter what row you end on, it does not matter at all. Whatever row you end on, just do the top row as a row of double crochet. Chain 3, not 2, chain 3, and then work 1 double crochet into each stitch to give you a flat edge, and to lock in the cables and just finish off your row. And that's it. But obviously you could work this up as tall as you like. You can make it a blanket, you can make it a big wall hanging, which I'm thinking I'm going to do my swatches as a wall hanging. And if I do make that, I will be sure to show you what it looks like. So yeah, that's all there is to tell you today. I am not going to do my final row on either of these pieces because I want to work these up. I think I want to make these into a bigger piece. I think certainly this one needs another repeat on it. And as you can see, once you start repeating it, you can see how most of it is quite straightforward, and you can kind of see where you need to do the stitches. So I hope, oops, I thought I was going to sneeze there. I hope you found this useful and helpful, and you've really enjoyed watching this cable working up today, and I hope you'll give it a go. It really is not as tricky as it looks. So just take it step by step and stitch by stitch, as I always say, stitch by stitch, slowly but surely. Just pause where you need to, rewind. You can even use the function somewhere up there or down there to slow the video down if you need to. It might make me sound a bit dopey and sleepy, but that's what you can do if you need to slow it down. So if you have found this useful and helpful and you've enjoyed crocheting along with me, then please click that like button, give us a thumbs up, it's much appreciated. And until next time, just keep hooking and don't let your tea get cold.